All right, welcome to our reading lecture for this week, week 12. And I will go ahead and get us started here and talk. We're going to talk about a story this week called Sonny's Blues. We've already been talking about this for a couple of weeks. I just want to remind you, author is James Baldwin, who was born in 1924 and died in 1987. This story was published in 1957, which I don't know, to me, when I read it, it kind of surprises me that the story is actually that old because well, there's some things that maybe date the story a little bit. Some of the things that are going on in the world. It's more connected to the Korean War, which was going on at that, well, not in 1957, but when the story was sort of set in the 50s. And, but, you know, you have this story of the recollections of a black algebra teacher in 1950s Harlem, New York City, as he reacts to his brother Sonny's drug addiction, arrest, and recovery. There's a little more information here in Wikipedia. And, you know, just as you get into the story again more, if you if you think from history class what you remember about the 1950s, and the civil rights movement really hadn't gone into full force until the 1960s. So, you know, what about the wars going on? Again, we mentioned the Korean War. So his brother does go into the military. We hear about that, and just the different social mores and attitudes, which the 1950s is in some ways thought to be a more conservative time, not so progressive, and of course, again, equality for African Americans and others was not something that was as actualized as it is today. So again, just a little more background on this story as you're reading it, knowing where it's set in New York City, 1950s, and written by James Baldwin. And then these are a couple of links that you could also, if you wanted to follow these, you could. And this one gives you a little more information. This is just Wikipedia, so just some information that people have shared on James Baldwin. And then this is a video from someone who makes kind of videos about literature and English, but from a kind of a lighthearted, you know, perspective. So if you want to look at that, it's a good summary, I think, of our story, and it's kind of fun. All right, so the main thing this week to think about as you're reading is our journal. And remember, journals are not going to be due until the end of the semester, but that is getting very close now, right? As we get winding down, sort of, we're getting very close to the end of the semester. This is week 12, so we have about 4 weeks after this. One of those weeks is going to be Thanksgiving. Before we know it, it'll be finals week. So the journals we do then on week 16, I think, or 15. So just a few weeks out. I'll say more about that as we get closer to it. But with your journals, and again, just as a reminder, what I recommend is that you write these into one document. Maybe put week 1, week 2, and just cut and paste everything together. Because at the end, you'll have an assignment, which will be a regular Turnitin assignment, like we've used for our essay assignments, and it will only allow you to upload one file. So if you're putting these in separate files each week, if you could, before the end of the semester, combine them all into one file. It could be a Google Doc, Word doc, something that will upload easily to Blackboard. So again, it's got to be one file. But enough said about that. If you can, finish the story or get through pages 503 to 513 and answer the following questions. On page 506, the narrator says, "But there's no way not to suffer, is there, Sonny?" How does Sonny answer this question? So his brother's asking him about this and all the troubles he's had and suffering and trying to escape from suffering through his drug use and everything. Has Sonny found a way to avoid suffering? What do you think? Is suffering just a normal part of life, or can we avoid it? So just kind of a philosophical question there connected to our part of our story on page 506 in a quote. On page 509, Sonny says, I couldn't tell you when Mama died, but the reason I wanted to leave Harlem so bad was to get away from drugs. So back when his mom died, he couldn't have said that, but he understood it now. Have you ever left a place or situation or a person hoping it would change your life for the better? How'd it go? If you've never had the experience, have you known anyone who ran away from a person, place, or thing hoping for a better life? How'd it go for that person? And then on page 513, the narrator listens as Sonny plays a set with a jazz group. And he begins to understand that Sonny is a very talented musician. While listening, it's his brother, right, his younger brother. While listening to the music, the narrator remembers his mother, his uncle, and his daughter, and nearly begins to cry. Do you believe music or any other art form has the power to help people? Why or why not? So again, these are our journal questions, and again, that's not due until the end of the semester, but hopefully you're kind of steadily doing these. Otherwise, if you're not, it can be just kind of a chore to get all these done, and they are worth quite a few points by the time we add them all up. And the other thing this week, and this should be posted in Blackboard under week 12, and that's our summary, reading summary for this week. And similar, some of these are similar questions. Read the conversation the narrator and his brother Sonny have on pages 505 to 509. How do you think the narrator feels during this conversation? How does Sonny feel? Explain. See if you can get a sense of what they're going through as they discuss some of these things on page 509, 505 to 509. Near the bottom of page 507, the narrator says, I wanted to say more, but I couldn't. I wanted to talk about willpower and how life could be, well, beautiful. Why do you think the narrator doesn't say what he wants to say to his brother, Sonny? And then the last paragraph of the story on page 513, the narrator imagines he sees the drink he bought for Sonny. He buys him a drink while he's playing piano, playing on the stage, and he thinks he sees this drink glowing and shaking above his head. And it's quote here, like the very cup of trembling. What is the cup of trembling? You might have to look that one up. Why would the author choose to put that image at the very end of a story about a jazz musician? I think I spelled heroin wrong there. That's like a hero who's female. Whoops, that's not the drug addiction. Typo. Okay, I make a lot of typos sometimes in these PowerPoints. But anyway, heroin addiction, addicted to the drug, not addicted to female heroes, right? So again, take a look at these questions if you can for the reading summary for this week. And that's all I'm going to do in this video, I think. And as always, just let me know if you have any questions about the readings or anything else that's going on in the class. And hopefully everybody has a great week. Thanks for watching this.